Welcome back. So some news of the day for all you fine people on this sunny Friday, at least sunny here. So there's some news as we get closer to the trade deadline. Seattle involved in this. Pierre LeBrun reporting that after meeting with general manager Ron Francis, consensus seems to be that there will be a move made at or before the deadline involving Mark Giordano. So the first ever captain of the Seattle Kraken may very well be moving on pretty quickly after being named the captain of Seattle. And so we'll see what that return might be. LeBrun also reporting that Florida is amongst the teams that would be interested in acquiring the services of Mark Giordano. I'm sure there are plenty of teams that would line up for him because, again, it might be one final run. It's a rental, and his experience would go a long way. So we will see where he ends up, what ends up happening there, and when. Because the big thing really is the when part of it. Could Calgary swoop in and go, yeah, no, we'll take it back? It's unlikely, but we'll see what happens. Rob Blake, in an interview stating that with The Athletic, stating that he is not moving pending UFAs. So for the LA Kings, they see themselves as being in and hunting for a playoff spot, and they don't want to trade their way out of that hunt. So Rob Blake wants playoffs this season, at least wants to take the best run at the playoffs this season. It then leads you to ask, well, do they maybe go out and add something? I would say that based on that statement, yeah, they probably go out and add something at the deadline. It will be quite the arms race in the West because there were a lot of teams going after what's basically one or two playoff spots. And so whichever team handles the trade deadline the best, which sometimes is the team that doesn't make a trade. That's the part that I always get a kick out of, is that they try to declare winners and losers immediately on trade deadline day. And the reality is we won't know for a long time who the real winners and losers are of trade deadline day. And sometimes it's the team that doesn't make a deal, that just says, I have faith in this roster, I think they'll be fine. And maybe they made a move earlier in the season, or the big moves were made the previous offseason, right? So for the Kings, they're going to be a team to watch. And again, it might just be, we'll keep things as they are. Things are going pretty well. They've won 7 of their last 10. They've only lost 1 in regulation in their last 10, so we shall see. Nick Robertson, Toronto Maple Leafs. So he's been out all year. They've called him up today, though, from the Marlies. He is expected to be in the lineup tomorrow night to make his season debut for Toronto. This is basically adding a top 9 forward without losing anything by getting him into the lineup. I like Robertson a lot. I hope he does well. And so it'll be interesting to see how that impacts Toronto's lines and what kind of impact he has on their scoring, their speed, obviously. And I'll be glad to see him back in the lineup. It's definitely been too long. Carey Price. So we heard that they would be making an announcement about Carey Price today. The announcement is this. He is progressing. So this is good news. So I know there'll be people who say, well, this isn't really news. It is. Because in the event that he wasn't progressing, we might be having a different conversation. But he is progressing. He's not back on the ice yet. But rehab, he is making those steps. He is building his strength. And so everything's progressing towards Carey Price making a return to the NHL. Again, rather than it stalling out and then him having to make a decision on his future. So we still don't have a timeline for Carey Price. Definitely the way things have gone over the last 4 games for Montreal. I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it, right? They were way out of the playoffs anyways, so if Carey Price doesn't play this year, it's okay. But if they're playing really well, then that's okay too, right? So, Carey Price, we will see if he ends up back in the lineup. There's 2 months left in the season, so we're, at least for Montreal, right? And then you get into the playoffs. So I think it's a little dicey as to whether or not he plays, but I hope he does come back and play this season. So this has been news over the last couple of days. Now, I don't discuss things of a political nature on the channel, obviously. I find it important to keep this to hockey. And the reason being that people often will message me and say, hey, I use your channel as kind of an escape from everything. So, and I appreciate that. And with what's gone on with Russia and Ukraine over the last couple of days, I have actually had messages from people who are directly affected by this, who have thanked me for my channel having daily uploads and for having that escape, that moment of normalcy. The last couple of years, I've known how important it is to make sure that things feel normal, that at least my videos during the day are a way to escape from whatever else is going on. And it might be something going on in a person's personal life. It might be politically motivated. It might be something that is bothering them in their professional life, whatever is bothering a person on that given day. I like the idea that my channel is this panacea where we don't get into all that stuff. But in relation to what's gone on with Russia and the invasion of Ukraine, the amount of pressure put on Ovechkin, while I understand it, I think it's odd to put that much pressure on an athlete to me. Like, you know, I just find that odd. But he's come out and said he wants peace, and he's not going any further than that. And I'm okay with him not going much further than that. And I've seen his comments, and I know there's some of his comments people are taking offense to or they're upset about. But basically, he doesn't want to see happen what's happening right now, right? He's not happy about it. He's not saying he supports that either. And so he's come out and made his statement. I'm kind of hoping that that's the extent of it. And again, it's because he's an athlete. This is his job. He also has family that lives in Russia. So there's a lot of things going on there. And so I hope by him coming out to a podium and giving statements and saying he wants peace, which is important here. I do hope that it causes everything to kind of settle down to a bit of a dull roar. So yeah, it's not an easy situation for anybody who's been affected by this. And I echo that it's alarming. This is not a good thing, and I hope this all gets stopped as soon as possible. That being said, and it is impossible to transition away from that to something else. It's one of those things. But we also today have news from the Orlando Solar Bears. Now here's the thing. And people are calling out the Solar Bears on this, and I'm not going to disagree with them. So yesterday, the Orlando Solar Bears are taking pre-orders for these customized Sean Avery Orlando jerseys. And I'm sure they're going to be fantastic. Great. Awesome. Today, they released Sean Avery. So I agree with the people asking what happens with the pre-orders. Yeah, it's a good question to ask. Since Sean Avery's been released from his contract, and there are certainly plenty of remarks underneath Orlando's tweet about that. What does happen with those pre-orders? Do they finish those custom jerseys? Do they give the refunds? What are they going to do? Probably by the time I upload this, they will have answered, because whoever's in charge of their social media will likely see that quickly and go, we may have a problem. But yeah, so they released Sean Avery. And as exciting as it may have sounded, it is really hard for a hockey player to make a comeback over the age of 40. It is not easy. I know there was a retired player I talked to at one point that said that when they do the old timers games where you get together a bunch of alumni, right? And I know alumni is the term now. It was always called old timers hockey back in the 80s, but there are players who've played in the NHL that, because they haven't been on skates in a long time, they might bypass the alumni game. And it's not easy. It's not like riding a bike at all. The whole skating, playing hockey thing is not like riding a bike at all. So players who try making comebacks, I think they run into those roadblocks quickly. A lot of injuries that maybe aren't bothering them in retirement, as soon as you start putting your body through that punishing, the rigors of trying to get ready for hockey, those can come back. So Avery made a try of it. Orlando has released him. We'll see if that's the end of the story. It's Sean Avery. I don't think it's going to end up being the end of the story. I get the feeling it won't be. So there's been a lot of talk about Hart Trophy contenders and how Ovechkin may have been the early one that was the contender, but now maybe it's Matthews. There are other names out there, obviously. But one that's been under the surface too is Shesterkin. And it's funny because I was thinking about this morning when I was setting up for my video talking about all these defensemen and how none of them had a Hart Trophy. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking, defensemen play more minutes on the ice than anybody who's not a goaltender. Defensemen are really, really important to every team. If you lose a top four defenseman, it seems to be more of a blow to a team than losing a top six forward. And yet when we talk about the Hart, it's almost always one of your top scoring forwards. And it's not a flaw. It's how the Hart Trophy voting's always been. but it does make me wonder if defensemen deserve more consideration for the Hart than what they do. Because with defensemen, it's like Yossi's got over a point a game, and you can go, well, he's up for Norris. Oh, Makar's playing great. He's up for the Norris. Why couldn't they be considered amongst the most valuable players in the league? By extension, goaltenders. Igor Shesterkin's having an amazing run for the New York Rangers. I do think he'll get Hart votes. I don't know how many. And should the way that the Hart is voted on, should there be some sort of a change in how we look at it? That goaltenders and defensemen are really key, very, very important players, and yet the goalies are voted for Vezina, defensemen voted for Norris. Forwards, well, they have they win the Art Ross because they're usually the leading scorer. Usually, there are times that's not the case. You've got the Hart. You've got the formerly Pearson, now Lindsay Award. You've got a lot of awards that end up going to forwards. I always thought that was odd. So if Shesterkin ends up winning the Hart, he'll be the first one since Carey Price to do it as a goaltender. And again, is there maybe not enough attention given to defensemen for how important they are around the National Hockey League? Because we do get enamored with that goal scorer and that top player, whether it's Matthews, whether it's Draisaitl, whether it's McDavid. And should there be an argument made that, that number one defenseman that plays 30 minutes a night, he's kind of the most valuable player. So I'd be interested to know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding that. Keep in mind, tomorrow, the Stadium Series game between Tampa Bay and Nashville is going to happen. There's been a lot of hype today on social media regarding that. The greeting of the Nashville Predators and Tampa Bay Lightning as they come in for the stadium game, giving a time when the buses come in if you want to go out and greet them. So it sounds like it's going to be a party. And from everything I've heard about Nashville, and basically the number one thing I've heard about Nashville through various sources is it's the best place to see a hockey game and have a good time while you're at it. So it's not just the arena, it's the whole neighborhood, it's the whole experience. And that it's this really kind of a fantastic place that they've got it set in. And yeah, so it's the perfect place for a Stadium Series game for this year. Carolina, of course, gets it next year. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. It is going to be a full day of hockey tomorrow. So I'll be doing my best to make sure that I'm keeping up on everything, make sure that I'll get videos out as need be. And again, as I stated in the middle of this, part of what I see this channel is needing to do is that daily I upload videos. And daily, keep it as normal and as even-keeled as possible. Just stay even-keeled. All the yelling and all the other stuff, there's other channels that can do all that. I try to keep it as even-keeled as possible. Unless one of my teams plays like absolute garbage in a playoff situation, then I might get a little bit upset. But we're nowhere near the playoffs yet. We're 2 months out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.